Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hello!
And today we're talking about volume 11 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. The volume starts with Frieren thawing Denken out of his golden state and revealing that she can now cast a protection spell that shields people from the effects of Diagolze. And then Frieren fights Solitär while Denken fights Macht. Toward the end of their battles, Frieren finally was able to save Weisse by turning all of the gold back to normal, and that very much turned the tides for both Denken and for herself. Denken then dealt the final blow to Macht and Fern, or second to final blow, technically, to Macht, and Fern stepped in and sniped the shit out of Solitaire, thus putting an end to her as well. And the Golden Land story arc ended with Frieren and the party continuing their journey, and Denken finally visiting his wife's grave. And then the last few chapters of the volume, there's a run-in with a kitchen golem as well as a sky mountain dragon. And in the very end, at the very end of this book, they visit a monument of the goddess, where Frieren is transported 84 years back in time to the days she spent traveling with the hero's party.
Ooh.
So that is very juicy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
What an exciting volume.
Right?
What a great way to end this arc.
Yes. Yeah, really ending this tremendous arc and also setting up something really fascinating that I, for some reason, absolutely had not seen coming.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I don't know how we could have seen time traveling
True.
to occur, but maybe someone out there did. But yeah, no, I'm very excited for the future potential of that one. But first, I'm ready to talk about the end of this arc.
Oh yes, so let's do that by going through the characters, starting of course with Frieren. We learn that she apparently fought Macht 600 years ago, and that back then her right arm was turned into gold, and she struggled with turning it back to normal for 100 years. She was able to do it, but it took her a century back then.
That's crazy.
That is crazy, but I love it. And it also obviously gives us the idea that she has been, like, this is not her first run-in with Macht and Diagolze, so she's had time to kind of analyze the spell even before these 2 months that she spent in his memories recently. So that was fascinating.
Yeah, it really emphasizes how immensely complicated Diagolze was, or how powerful it was. And yes, the 2 months would have felt like a long time, but even getting more backstory into the 600 years it took her to analyze it just shows how even more powerful this spell is than maybe we originally thought or could even process. So I thought it was really, really tiny but fascinating detail, and just shows how long she's been trying to fight against the spell. And so it ends up becoming a spell that obviously mattered, or I guess an arc that mattered a lot to Denken, but it mattered quite a bit to Frieren as well.
I think so, for sure. And speaking about that, the story about the past run-in with Macht, Frieren said, "It took me a whole century just to restore my right arm." The way she said a whole century makes it sound like 100 years is a lot to her, which, based on the very beginning of this story, I don't think she would have expressed herself that way. Like 100 years to her at the start of this series may not have been that significant amount of a time.
Yeah.
But I think after everything that she's because she has been growing and changing as a person over the course of the series, and I think she is now at a point in her life, or as in her perception of life or whatever, where she does view 100 years as a lot of time. And she even later on in the story she said 3 whole days in one part of her expression. She expressed 3 whole days, which also sounded like 3 days was a lot, but which maybe that's a stretch, I guess, maybe. But Still,
Mm-hmm.
expressing yourself or for her to express herself in that way regarding time, I think shows to her character growth.
Maybe if it was a deliberate choice by the mangaka. I wonder if part of that is translation choices,
Could be.
localization, maybe taking some liberties with a whole century.
Mm,
And it'd be curious to see exactly what the Japanese says
true.
in order to emphasize that whole part. Because they could have easily just said a century to do, but they did add the whole. So was that something that could have been added in Japanese? I mean, that's a whole century is definitely an English expression. Like a whole something is an English expression.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know exactly what the Japanese would be on that, but I would be interested to find that out eventually.
Yeah,
Maybe go read it for
I mean,
myself.
it
But
is
I
a
don't know.
fair point. Like the localization team of this series has not been great with some things. Well, or
At least typos.
it's at least typos. Yeah, maybe that's mostly what I'm thinking of. There's usually at least one typo in every book.
I haven't.
Sometimes more.
You're right. Although I don't know if I noticed one this time around. Maybe there was. I don't know.
Oh, there was one. There was. Let me just find it real quick so I can quote it exactly. So, a spell that makes paper airplane fly farther. That, yeah.
You read it in between the lines. Figure it out yourself.
I guess Frieren really likes daddies. No, I don't know.
Himmel liked to be called daddy. Anyway, oh gosh.
Dear. What else we got on Frieren?
Macht is only the second demon she knows who tried to meet humans halfway, Demon King being the first.
Precisely.
And that led to the killing of 2/3 of the human population, as far as I understand.
Yeah, precisely the war that the Demon King started, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But then she said, we aren't so nice that we'll wait for that to happen.
Precisely. But she was really struggling in her fight against Solitaire. She was definitely pushed to her limit. It seemed like.
Yeah.
Multiple times during that battle, even to the point where she was really wishing that Fern was there with her, which was very sweet, I thought. And despite having the possibility in that moment that Fern and Stark could have been dead, she still kept up hope that they'd have her back, just like Himmel always believed in his companions. So that was, another very beautiful thing that she got from Himmel.
Yeah. I think she's really learned to have faith in her allies, not just Fern and Stark, but also Denken.
Oh, yeah.
And definitely comes from her experience with the Heroes Party.
Precisely. Definitely. Yeah, I like that you added Denken into that, because I think in the moment when they separated at the beginning, I interpreted Denken's expression, or kind of his look toward Frieren, as not incredibly confident that he would survive it. But even still, Frieren still decided to trust him and leave him to Macht there. So yeah, that is nice.
Yeah. I think at the time she said she trusted him, we didn't know that she was also in the midst of analyzing the Golden Land the entire time.
True, there's
so
that.
she had she knew that was coming, and that as long as Denken can just survive until then,
and as she could survive until then too.
Well, that's true.
Which obviously she could, but
yeah,
great teamwork.
Indeed, but that fight with Solitaire was incredible and really had her pushing the limits. It reminded me of when she was fighting herself.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, different spells that they were using, but Solitaire was very, very fun to see fight. And I guess what I'm trying to say is the way she copied Solitaire's spell after she said she killed Fern and Stark was just stone cold. Just one of the things I love about Frieren is just how she can always adapt and end up just one-upping her opponent, even if it seems like that's not feasible.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and this might be the best example of that because I don't think we've ever seen her be in this actually dire of a situation before, like her personally. Like we've seen other characters be in bad situations,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't think we've seen Frieren be this close to potential defeats before.
Besides fighting herself, I think that was
Mm,
pretty close too.
that's fair. That's true.
Maybe this is probably
I guess.
closer. I'll admit, but
Mm,
I think she definitely got injured fighting herself.
mm.
And honestly, that spell being basically like releasing your mana in a way, like making it dense or something like that. That seems very useful for someone like Frieren who has an immense amount of mana as well. So
Absolutely.
blame Solitaire for giving her a new weapon to use.
Exactly, and it seems like it can be used as a shield as well. It's just kind of shaping your mana to do what you want it to do in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
Neat.
She says, "For the first time in ages, it seems I won't have to grieve." Did she feel bad whenever she killed a demon? Was that established before?
I don't think it had been, but I guess that was the implication.
I think.
Yeah.
She's killed demons on this journey already, and yet she says, "In
Mhm,
ages, I won't have to grieve."
precisely. Yeah, that is interesting. I guess despite her words, despite everything she says and the way she acts, because she does without hesitation kill demons, and she does, you know, with her words express how inhuman they are and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess despite all of that, she still feels some kind of feelings whenever she kills them.
You know, there's been a lot of memes with the first season how Frieren is very cold towards the demons and shut up, don't care,
Uh-huh.
and kills them. Kill yourself or.
Mm-hmm.
And they're funny and all, but it does kind of paint Frieden as this cold, uncaring individual, which to an extent I guess I kind of believed as well. But maybe all of the scenes where we see the demons trying to appease or trying to appeal to the human nature of caring and forgiveness and things like that, maybe that actually did have an effect on her and she's just kind of been fighting, has to fight that.
Yeah.
And it just seems, because Frieren doesn't express a lot of emotions all the time, we just never saw that pain or that uncomfortableness uh, from killing a creature that is begging for its life. So
Precisely.
that's kind of the thought I had.
Yeah, no, I think that probably has got to be it. And yeah, to see a creature that looks very human, aside from
Mm-hmm.
one or two horns or whatever usually, um,
Mm-hmm.
plead like that or whatever. Like, yeah, it makes sense as human or as something that's similar to human, to feel pity or whatever you feel toward that.
I still don't understand the difference between human and elves at this point.
I think,
Like, I think they're all humanity. They're just like different
right.
subs.
Elves are on the side of humanity, and they are so
Yeah.
close, I think, to humans that
Mm-hmm.
they are kind of grouped together.
Mm-hmm.
Dwarves probably would also be part of humanity in this world here.
Yeah.
Anything else from the Golden Land?
I think that's it from that part.
Nice. So yeah, then we had 3 chapters after the Golden Land arc was over. The Kitchen Golem chapter to me wasn't all that. I don't know. It didn't give me much exactly.
It's like, eh. I think what was interesting about that chapter was they showed the geography, where they
Right.
were,
True.
where the empire is.
Mm.
Because honestly, I kind of thought the northern plateau was the northern plateau. I thought there wasn't anything above it really.
Same.
Eh,
Although
but nope, there's this huge empire.
Yeah. But wait, there's more. Of course there is.
So we did get that in this chapter, and
Mhm.
I guess there's going to be some interaction with the Empire at some point. Maybe golems will come back in some way. Hopefully not as a weapon ever, but
although
we'll see.
probably or possibly.
You never know. But yeah, I guess paper airplane fly farther or fly farther now.
Yup.
We have a deal. Sheesh. I think she should say, "Oh bother." I think that'd be more accurate.
Oh yeah, probably.
Although not like we say that in America.
Oh bother. It's like Winnie the Pooh says that.
Oh bother. Yeah, very Winnie
He's
the Pooh.
like the only one who says it. Anyway, the Sky Mountain Dragon was one of the coolest things
I'm glad you agree.
I loved that. That was so
awesome,
amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
can't wait to see that animated.
Definitely that, and also like, I kind of wish it was more than just this chapter because it feels like we may not ever see that again in the story.
True.
But like, I honestly, like, I'd read like a whole manga that's like centered around that phenomenon, kind of.
Yeah.
It's just so fascinating and cool. My gosh.
That's the thing about this manga. For the most part, it's been the world building is one chapter at a time, where you get this interesting idea or the interesting place, and then you move on. I guess it kind of shows the journey, and how, not everything on the journey is the main course, if you will.
For sure. And I do love it. Like, the way the world building is done in this story is great. I really, really appreciate it. It's just, in cases like this, it's so good that I wish there was more of certain things, which I know the story isn't about that, and like, it definitely doesn't lower my opinion of the story at all.
No.
But it just makes me so intrigued. But yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. But then came the final chapter of the volume, in which they had to wait 3 weeks, was it, in order to pass through a gate?
Yeah, I think 3 weeks.
And so to kill some time, they visited the Monument of the Goddess, or one of several monuments of the Goddess, which in present day is in ruins, but 84 years ago it was not, as we saw when Frieren found herself in the past.
I think it must be something to do with touching the monument back then and then touching it now. Maybe it, does some sort of transportation to that moment.
Yeah, there's definitely a link somehow.
That's what the spell was, and that's why she wasn't able to understand it at the time or something.
I think so too. And also that also explains why she had like a week-long memory gap back then after she touched it or interacted with it the first time. It's because we'll probably see that week like now coming here. I think seems pretty safe to say. But yeah. I guess a lot of this can be said in predictions at the end of the episode.
Indeed.
But yeah, just in general, fascinating. And it's not technically the first time that the story deals with well, it's the first time it deals with time travel, but previously in the story we have dealt with like being able to see the future and those types of powers, because the hero of the South, I believe, could do that, right? As well as one of the demons that he was fighting against.
Right.
I think, right?
Right.
But that might not be connected to this. It's just something I wanted to point out. But are we leaving Frieren for now?
Yeah.
Then let's move on and talk about Denken. So we learn that his wife's name, because I don't think we had heard her name before. Her name is Lektüre, which means reading, or like, it's like a noun referring to like, I think any type of media that you spend time reading, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, interesting. Does that have anything to do with the English word lecture?
Not that I know. I don't think. There's probably some kind of connection, but it doesn't mean the exact same thing.
Also, it doesn't sound like a very feminine name, at least from my...
There's like a lot of the names in this story, I think, are weird as names.
Fair.
They're weird ass names. um, but yeah, I mentioned earlier like how I interpreted Denken's like expression when he decided to take on Macht alone.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he looked very confident, or I don't know. I remember when I read the volume the first time. In that moment, I read his expression as like, I think I can kill him, but he will definitely also kill me. Like I thought it was like that kind of we'll take each other out
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, which almost did happen, but obviously, luckily, Denken is still around.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think I kind of in that moment he definitely didn't expect to get out of that alive, like from the start, kind of. At least that's how it felt to me.
Yeah, I'm so glad he got to fight against Macht and do the killing blow. It was just very satisfying.
Oh yeah,
very satisfying to see.
So satisfying. And I love the usefulness of Soul Truck. Like
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, it's so nice, and like, and I like the logic in it too. Like, I really like how, and like just for this whole story as a whole, like the magic system and the magic history has been depicted so well throughout this whole series. Soul Truck was introduced to us really early on. I think the first volume, and it was interesting in and of itself already back then with the history and whatnot that we learned about it. But it keeps bringing new kind of angles to it, or like perspectives to this spell, like 11 volumes in, and yeah, it's awesome.
Agreed.
And it was also like a really badass line. I think Macht said it like he was like, it's like I'm fighting. What was it? It's like I'm fighting humanity's magic history or whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm fighting against the whole history of human magic.
Right. Yeah. I love that.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and for Denken to be like the one to kind of embody that, very nice.
He played his trump card at the right time, as his mentor taught him.
Yes, that was also great.
That was just a great moment, because I wasn't sure at first why it was all melting, or the gold was disappearing, or whatever. It's like, what is happening here? And then Macht gets stabbed. It's like, okay, so that wasn't the reason why. And then it shows that Frieren was the one who had analyzed it and was able to dispel it. I was like, oh no, that makes sense. So anyway, that was just a really cool moment as a reader and watcher, kind of to see that bang bang, you know.
Oh yeah.
Macht notices that something's wrong, and then boom, Denken gets him right in the heart or in the chest or whatever.
For sure. Yeah, this is probably, in my opinion, the most exciting that like combat has ever been in this story so far.
Yeah.
Like both on Frieren's side and on Denken's side.
Yeah, it's one of the best action moments in this book or in this story. You know, when Denken first got Macht there, I was like, "What? You got to cut off the head or get its core or something." Like all the other like demon, you know, stories.
Oh yeah.
On how to kill them, it kind of came all at me at once. Like, oh wait, no. This story is reasonable when it comes to killing demons.
Oh yeah. That's so funny. But yeah, no, I get that totally. There's like titans and other demons and friggin' whatever, like kaiju and
right.
Yeah, totally.
And then just that final moment at his wife's grave, just you know, very nice, very cathartic to see. That's all I need. I mean, it would be great to have him back in the story at some point. I imagine he'll go back to the capital or whatever.
Or maybe he'll just retire in his hometown.
Maybe, but what about Lamfat, his granddaughter? His adopted granddaughter. He can't just leave her. Who will buy her bread?
I can't believe I forgot about Laufen.
Laufen.
she can come live with him in Weisse.
I guess.
But yeah, I'm very content with Denken's part in the story, and I don't think there's any need for him to return.
Fair.
But as you said, if he does, I probably won't be against it. But yeah, it was a very very nice moment with the grave. I got a little. I didn't shed any tears, but I was like, I got a little bit watery, a little bit moist. But anything else on Denken?
No.
Then let's talk next about Macht. So yeah, he is indeed special for wishing from the bottom of his heart to coexist with humans. But as you mentioned before,
But not the only one.
Not the only one. Yeah, the Demon King had the same dream. So it's fascinating to learn that, like, it is fascinating to learn about both of them having had that very similar kind of goal.
Mm-hmm.
But despite that, it doesn't change the fact that they are demons, and that the fact that they are demons makes them pure evil, no matter how different they may seem.
Yeah.
Like, the story is not straying away from that. Demons are absolute monsters, absolute evil, no matter what.
Right. Yeah, it's fascinating to think that their desire for coexistence requires them to kill.
Yeah.
To understand something. And I can't speak for the Demon King yet. I'm sure we'll get more about him later on in the story, but with Macht, it was, I don't know, it felt very cold-hearted and kind of sad that no matter what he did, he couldn't grasp what humans were and how they could coexist or whatever. It seemed like a quest that he could never truly fulfill.
Precisely. He felt like he was getting closer steadily, but I don't think he could have ever reached his goal. Like, if he would have just continued without anyone stopping him, yeah, eventually there would be no more humans to kill.
And maybe that would be the coexistence that you're talking about.
Coexisting
Genocide.
With these corpses, yeah.
Yeah. That gold shard power though was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's another one I can't wait to see animated.
Yeah.
Just seeing how he attacks Denken like that.
Honestly, this entire arc is going to be really cool to see in anime, and it should be in season 2, I assume. Have they announced that they'll make a second season?
Yeah,
they did.
Yep.
Cool, great. I'm glad.
It's in production currently.
Lovely.
They recently announced.
Great. But yeah, that was really cool. And Denken questioned what Macht may be like, what he may have prepared himself for that would have needed such great power to defeat. And to be fair, like, that, as Denken referred to it as, apex of magic that humanity could never reach, it was still not enough to actually defeat Denken. Like, Denken still was, in the end, bested Macht, despite that great power that humanity could never reach, as Denken himself put it. So yeah, like, I guess in that way, I thought it was a bit illogical to question it the way he did. But assuming Denken was onto something when he questioned what Macht may have prepared for himself for, with all that power, I think my best guess is that he was preparing himself to overthrow the Demon King, or something at least, because we learned also that Macht didn't like the Demon King.
True. Which is odd that they would be two demons that thought similarly. Right. They don't like each other.
It's funny.
Yeah, that's a good point. I started to think why he would do that, and then I stopped because I don't know. I just thought maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's just a case of a demon trying to just be the best that they can be.
Fair.
But I do like that idea, though. It could have been him preparing for a fight against Demon King. But, you know, he's had conflicts with other demons, at least in the previous volume we saw that, right?
True.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because he's not going to be able to use it because he got careless.
Yeah. Hella careless.
I mean, I wouldn't say that badly, but he underestimated his opponent.
He got careless enough that he died.
Oh, well, yeah.
But
I guess that is pretty careless.
And now all of the 7 stages of destruction are gone.
Whew.
Every single one of them. Yay.
Well, there you go.
That feels good, honestly. Because, like, For a big part of the story, we haven't really known which ones were around and which ones weren't. And then I think by around, like, volume 8 or so, 7 or 8, around there, I think it became clear which ones were around and which ones weren't. And he was the last one, and now he's gone as well. So, yeah, feels good. But anything else on Macht?
Gluck? How do you say his name? Gluck. Cared for him in the end as an old friend in hell.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
You know, it is kind of ironic that in his attempts to understand humanity, he was able to gain a great ally, but I don't know if he even truly recognized him as an ally.
Right.
You know?
Precisely. And even a friend, I may even say. Like.
Yeah, I mean, that's another way of putting it, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't think he truly not even understood, but just comprehended.
True.
You know, it's just, I think the demon's idea of coexistence is different than a human's idea of coexistence.
Definitely.
And that's why it was not possible.
Yeah, and like even between demons, like demon to demon, like I wonder because just since we're on this, there was a part, and I hadn't even thought like intended on bringing it up, but I feel like it got me thinking now. There was a part in this volume where Solitär mentioned her friends, or she said something about her friends.
That's true. She did say that.
And I was like, I reacted to it because, like, do demons actually have friends? Or do they just express themselves that way because they've heard humans talking like that? Mm-hmm. Probably, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. That's a great point as well. They don't have familial bonds.
That's true.
That's been established.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, they are able to be organized enough by a leader to form an army.
Right.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Now, between familial love and military organization, friendship's got to be in between there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
So maybe it was possible, but, you know, maybe her definition of friendship is different than how we would, or what a demon friend does for you is different than a human friend.
Yeah.
If a demon friend doesn't stab you in the back, are they really your friend? You know.
Yeah. If he doesn't turn you into gold, is he really your friend?
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And that's why Macht and all the demons will never be able to have coexistence.
Yep.
Demons. But I guess since we're mentioning Solitaire,
yes,
can we talk about her?
Let's go on to Solitaire. Yeah.
She recognizes the demon folly of underestimating humans, as she mentions, or at least implies, quite a bit, and yet she still underestimates them.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
A tendency of predators, as she says.
Yeah.
We already mentioned the spell that she used, but she was wrecking Frieren, and so it seemed. I don't know if she was just letting her do that. I mean, at the same time, Frieren was analyzing the Golden Land, so I guess she was kind of handicapped.
That's fair.
At that point.
That's true,
so maybe the fight wasn't as close as it was we were being led to believe. Regardless, like, she's definitely one of the most powerful opponents we've seen, without a doubt.
Yeah, and she has definitely an edge thanks to not having been known to Frieren before.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one of Frieren's greatest weapons is her vast knowledge over the years.
Oh, yes.
She mentions this is the first time she's engaged in mortal combat.
Right.
Well, it's also her last, so.
Yeah.
As Frieren states, she understands human psychology well, which is sad because I'm sure that took a lot of years and a lot of experimentation to get to.
Yeah. Man.
But I guess she mastered her craft.
She is so messed up. But I do love her kind of biological, psychological approach.
Yeah.
To everything. Like it's very fascinating, and I definitely appreciate her as a character, as a villain.
Well, absolutely, and it also made me appreciate Frieren more, as we stated, that it showed more of her human side. I mean, she is human. We've talked about that already, but it showed more of Frieren's kinder side and more of a side that we don't see too often. So I was glad we were able to see that. She also clearly knew the Demon King quite well. That was something I kind of speculated before. And I don't know if it was confirmed last volume or not. Maybe it was. But it was definitely reconfirmed in this one.
Right.
Unfortunately, she's out of the picture now, so that kind of perspective on the Demon King is out of reach. But I'm just more and more interested in this Demon King. And I love these little nuggets that they're putting in there. It's a slow burn to get to the point where we learn about him or maybe even see him, but yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to learn more about this terrible yet fascinating creature.
Oh yes. We also learned that Solitär came to the Golden Land to kill Macht, but that she chickened out because she thought, well, she didn't know if she could take him out, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder if she came there on her own volition or if she had been sent there by someone.
That's a good question. She kind of feels like an independent person at this point.
Yeah.
So I imagine she saw what happened with the Demon King and his quest for coexistence and didn't want that to happen again.
So
I assume that's why she would have gone there to kill him.
That makes sense
herself. But I could be wrong.
No, but I can buy that. Like, it probably makes the most sense.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Me as well. Then let's move on a bit to Fern next. So in this volume, we move on to 31 years after the death of Himmel. Which means that, well, we don't know if her birthday has been yet, but in this year, Fern turns 20.
Woo!
So that's where she's... And well, Stark as well. They're the same age. So they're about 20 now.
All right. I expect 5 kids in the next 10 years.
Yes. Yes. Oh, they would be such cute kids. My goodness.
Well, if the fan art tells me anything, yeah. So much fan art.
Have you, fan art of them having kids?
Oh, yeah. Of Frieren, babysitting their kids. What? Of them... on traveling. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, the internet is just already miles ahead of where the manga is right now.
I love that.
And then you get the really depressing ones where you have Himmel and Frieren's kids. It's like, why would you do this? This is not possible.
Hey, they have a week now.
Why are you making this hurt?
They got a week to get kids now.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
No.
Hey, you're right. We don't know what happens.
We don't know.
We're a few volumes behind. We don't know what happens.
On Fern, she lived up to her name when she sniped Solitär from that very long distance. With her name Fern, I believe, in German. Meaning far away or distance. So that training that Frieren put her through at the very start of the of the series certainly paid off here. So that was very nice.
I do love it.
Yeah,
I do love it.
It was beautiful.
I don't have anything on Fern this time around.
I don't have anything else either. So Stark next.
Yeah, just a funny thing. They bit my head a few times. How are you still alive? Beats me.
He is
comedy.
He's just immortal without knowing it.
He really is.
Uh,
Well, and they're bullying the poor man. He's doing push-ups. It's like, I feel good right now. It's
yeah.
life's good. Just like whisper, or for obviously Fern's, she's the fight starter. She's like whispering, like, he's so creepy. We don't actually hear what she's saying, but it's just all in good fun.
It is.
They're teasing him, of course, but the warriors are humans too. They just have great stamina and defense, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Vitality.
Exactly. That's what they do. Squatting with a boulder on your shoulders.
Ison's just built differently.
He sure is. And he passed it on to Stark somehow. Well, any other characters we want to talk about?
No.
Then let's dive into predictions. So, a week in the past is what I'm expecting for Frieren.
Yeah.
Like in this immediate future here, or past, it is technically. And yeah, as I said, I'm basing that off of her comment before when they were on their way to the monument. She said that she has no memory of the week that followed her inspection of the monument. So I feel like that's going to be filled in now, as she spends probably a week or so in the past before she returns to present day.
Yeah, that's a great prediction.
And like my final little prediction, I guess, on that thing is that I wonder if it will end up being Frieren herself who writes Viala Thor or whatever it says on the monument, because she said it wasn't there when she inspected it, but maybe it'll be her that writes it for whatever reason. Maybe it'll have meaning to us after the next volume or something.
Right.
And meaning to her as well in present day when she returns eventually.
Yeah, I mean, she also says it wasn't done. Doesn't seem to be done recently.
Exactly. So I'm thinking it could have been done at the end of that week or something.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
All very interesting. In terms of how long we'll do that within the volume, I mean, at most 2 chapters. What I'm thinking.
Only
maybe a chapter. Unless you're thinking it's a long arc.
I could see it being like a whole volume.
Really? Nah.
Well, maybe not a whole volume. But maybe half a volume. I think that's my final thing on that. About half a volume.
I could believe a half a volume. Yeah. I could believe a half a volume. But for some reason, I feel like this is going to be, even though it is a continuation of the previous chapter, I don't expect it to go very long. So chapter 2 at most, because as we stated before, they don't dwell on plot points unless it's a huge arc. And I just don't see this being a huge arc,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably not a huge arc.
But half a volume, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I'm also willing to be completely wrong, At the same time, you don't want to have too much of the Himmel and Frieren reunion before the final journey.
Yeah.
The end of the destination, because that's the whole point of this journey.
True. That's true. Precisely. That's a good point.
As to what Frieren will try to do during that time, I think she'll try to express her thoughts, maybe, but fail at it. Because I think this is the opportune time, but maybe it's just so sudden and she's just not able to think properly. I mean, there could also be a memory wipe of everything that, of the present time. Like maybe she somehow forgets about that. I'm not sure. I like to think that she'll have those memories still intact, and so she'll actually be present Frieren in the past.
I definitely hope so as well.
But I think she won't be able to truly express herself in a way that maybe there is a bit of satisfaction because Himmel's just a great guy like that. But I also feel it will still encourage her to make the journey to end.
Precisely. Like a little taste of what she might be able to expect from Ende.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it will be disappointing to me, I think, if she doesn't have memories of the future or of the present day, technically. Because then it wouldn't be time travel at all. It would it would really just be a flashback.
A memory. Yeah. And she certainly starts off realizing, oh crap, I'm in the past.
Yeah, right. Like that
You know?
that big 2-page spread. Like
Uh-huh.
I think it shows her and our surprise at her being in the past.
Yeah.
While I definitely most of all absolutely think that this is time travel, she has been transported back into the past and she will spend about a week in the past. That is definitely what I believe most of all. But if I'm going to play devil's advocate for a moment, just for fun, is this even actually the past, or is, I don't know, is she under some kind of influence by the goddess or whatever, and just seeing these things even though she hasn't actually time traveled? Well, and what I'm basing this off is kind of far fetched, but hear me out. The location is called Kino Pass. Kino in German means cinema, and so I guess if you could interpret it as this just being a projection or an illusion of some kind, and not actually time travel. Just a thought that I want to throw out there, but again, I don't actually believe in this. I just wanted to suggest it.
I like the thought. I wouldn't put it past the story to have a twist like that here. I think it would be an interesting one as well. But I wouldn't be upset either if it is actually time traveling of some kind, using, the goddess magic that we haven't had too much experience with in the story.
Right.
So just kind of adding a little more lore into all this, plus a great reunion with Himmel and Frieren potentially. But you're right. It could be a trap. It could be illusion. I'm not sure. I will say though that the fact that we have that whole blank week, or not being able to understand the monument, which I think actually means that she could understand it, but her memories were completely wiped. The whole transfer happened, or the present Frieren came into the past during that time, and that's why she couldn't understand this thing.
Precisely. Yeah. So like with that in mind, I definitely mostly think that it is time travel.
Yeah.
Plus also like the last page, it has like this, well, it establishes that it is 53 years before the death of Himmel the hero.
Right.
AKA 7 years after the hero's departure. So like I think, well, it would be an unreliable narrator if that wasn't the case. And well, the story hasn't done that type of stuff before, and I don't expect it to start doing that here. So,
right,
I'll trust the narration.
Yeah, I agree. But I guess you never know.
Yeah,
it could be still an illusion, just saying how many years ago. But
that's fair.
But I agree with you that it's not the case. It's certainly in the past.
Yeah.
As for what else happens in future story points, I mean, they'll definitely get to the Empire. It's kind of in their way.
Yeah.
So they'll get to the Empire. I don't know much about the Empire or anything about it other than what we learned in that brief Gollum chapter.
Precisely.
So I don't know. Maybe there was some stuff earlier. I don't know, but not that I can remember. So it'll be interesting to see if this group is hostile, friendly. I don't know. I have no idea what is going on. And with a name like Empire, it doesn't sound too promising.
True. The name definitely has some red flags that come with it, but I like based on the description, it seems like it'll be a smooth ride through the Empire, supposedly, with less monsters roaming the countryside and whatnot.
Yeah.
I absolutely also see the Empire coming into the story quite soon. Like, more or less, whenever Frieren comes back to the present day, they'll venture onward to the Empire pretty shortly.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they're waiting the 3 weeks for, right?
Right.
I wonder why, and I'm sure we'll find out, why the Empire seems to be so much safer than the Northern Plateau. Besides, I guess, the Golden Land being in the Northern Plateau. But there was more stuff going on than just Golden Land. So I don't know why that
Yeah.
seemed to be such a hot spot versus the Empire, who were watching their borders for anything. I mean,
Mm.
for whatever reason, they must have some sort of great demon destroying or detection capabilities there.
Yeah, that's my thinking. That they're, yeah, somehow they're just more advanced, I guess, than the plateau.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like the Norm Company, weren't they also kind of struggling at the start?
Yes, I think. Yeah.
Because the Norm Company are responsible for the Northern Plateau in terms of defeating monsters and stuff.
Were they also merchants? I can't remember.
Well, I think they are that as well. But they are
Yeah.
like a military branch somehow that also are responsible for hunting
Yeah.
monsters and demons. And maybe they're not as good at that as the Empire is,
Uh-huh.
perhaps. Is my assumption.
Makes sense.
It could also have to do with the climate, maybe. Like maybe it's a harsher climate on the plateau, and that makes it harder to combat the monsters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But do you have any other predictions you want to share?
I do indeed. So seven stages of destruction. They're gone.
Yes.
But are they really? So obviously Macht was the last one, or at least that's what was said previously. But I can't help but wonder if well, first off, I don't know if the Demon Lord was considered one of them. Probably not. But I feel like Demon Lord's gonna come back in some way and be near the finale of it all.
Oh, do you think he's gonna come back? You think that the Demon King is gonna come back?
Well, it needs to come back into the story somehow, whether
Mm-hmm.
it actually appears or not really dead or whatever. In some form or another, I do think the Demon King has to be back into the story. It could
Yeah.
even be a flashback, but I feel like that
Uh-huh.
would kind of be anticlimactic if that's how the story ends
Well,
after we've had all this action.
fair. That's fair. I think maybe he'll come back and like more kind of haunt Frieren, more like kind of traumatically. Because I don't know if I like the idea of him actually coming back in some actual sense.
Why? What don't you feel like they're hinting so much at the Demon King that not having him back would kind of be a letdown? Not necessarily back as in again, not necessarily back as in he's back in full force, but I don't know, just bringing him back into the story somehow.
Well, actually, right. Something I just thought of that I think would be nice. A way to bring him into the story, sort of into the present day, I guess, would be if he is at Ende as well. Like with the because that's where the dead guys are, and he's dead.
That could be interesting. Yeah, I have no idea if demons would be there as well.
Right? Yeah, I don't know.
It's a possibility.
Uh-huh. That would be interesting.
But I guess what I'm saying, real quick, what I'll say here is, I think prepare yourself because there's no way that is not gonna be relevant towards the end of the story. In my
No,
opinion.
I think what I had mostly anticipated before now was that he would only be like, well, in Frieren's memories, but still have a presence anyway. Somehow, I don't know exactly. I hadn't had anything too concrete, but obviously, I thought we would learn more about him and he would become more of a character, but maybe that he wouldn't exist in the present day story technically.
Well, I think what's interesting to think about is why did he build his supposed kingdom at Inde? You know, where souls go, or whatever the place is.
Oh, that's a good
whatever they call that.
Right.
So what was the point of that?
Oh yeah.
And maybe there's grand design there in the end. But anyway,
right.
That's all speculation, and that's what this section is for.
Yes.
But going back to the 7 stages of destruction, besides the Demon King, I think we could have one of the 7 stages of destruction come back in some way, and that's got to be Schlacht.
Oh.
Because time traveling. and granted, he's future sight, but maybe there is some sort of ability that or spell that he was able to learn that is able to use time travel. We already know that he somehow blocked out parts of Macht's memory.
Yeah.
That Frieren couldn't see,
Uh-huh.
and that would have been go against their plan somehow.
Mm.
And so I feel like Schlacht is not done here.
That's
and
good, yeah.
And maybe him time traveling or him actually coming back is out of the question. But I do feel his influence has to come back in some way.
I like that. And especially now that time travel has been established as a thing that can happen.
Right.
And also the fact that there exist multiple of these monuments of the goddess.
That's true too.
What if either this same one or a different one, maybe he'll use it to travel from the past into the present day, and thus, voila, he'll be around again, even though he died. He'll just travel into the present day from the past when he was alive.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get that idea during that week that Frieren from the future spent in the past.
Oh, maybe.
And he'll be like, "Oh, you're not from this time," or something, and then he gets the idea like, "Oh, I can travel into the future because I will die, but I can jump into the point in the future after I died, and thus I'll be alive again, and I can change my fate," or I don't know. That would be so cool.
Yeah. And I wonder how the week time frame plays into all this. Maybe there's, I don't know, a trigger, or maybe he's able to overcome that trigger somehow. I don't know.
I wonder.
But I think it's all fascinating to think about, and I'm super excited for the future of this story, and to see where they take it. I love where it's going. It's hard to be mad about what has happened since the first season of the anime. I think whenever the second season adapted, I think people were just gonna lose their mind how amazing the story continues to be.
Yeah.
And I think this arc is probably the best one so far. It's just been a lot of fun.
I think so too. And I feel like we've said the same thing before at some point. But yeah, the story continues to best itself. And yeah, while the time travel thing happening here might not be an arc, like complete full arc or whatever in and of itself, it's still something that's very, very intriguing. So yeah, very excited for the future of the story still. But I guess that's all for today. So, if you enjoy our podcast, please share it with your friends. You'll find links to our social media in the description. And you can support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel, Umami Manga, on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 12. Bye-bye!
See you later!
Shino is distracting me. This little gremlin.